Someone who has stood up against Planned Parenthood for a while now and has reintroduced the Defund Planned Parenthood Act is a Republican congressman from Tennessee's 6th District named Diane Black. She had this to say on the House floor the other day.
You see, Planned Parenthood doesn't empower women. It deceives them at their most difficult and vulnerable moments. It values convenience over truth and profit over life.
And that Congresswoman, Representative Diane Black from Tennessee's 6th District, joins us now. Representative Black, thanks so much for being with us.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me, Dan and Amy.
So let me ask you the kind of the political question first. What are the chances that this time around the House Republicans are willing to go to the mat to defund Planned Parenthood?
I'm sure hoping that we're going to not only have the Republicans, but we'll have others who have a conscience and see this as just deplorable, inhumane activity that was caught on this video. We have known for years that these kinds of things go on, but this undercover video now actually gets a window right into the soul of Planned Parenthood and what they're about.
Now, if we can't defund them, is there any chance that we can have them lose their tax-exempt status?
Look, I'm going to do everything that I can do to make sure that the American people, first of all, know what really goes on, so there is no support for them publicly or also within the realm of this government. I hope that the private sector also recognizes, and we've even seen some big industries such as Coca-Cola and Xerox tell Planned Parenthood to take them off of their website for supporting them. So I'm very pleased that we do have even those big companies that give money now saying we're not going to support that kind of activity.
And what has been the reaction in the House, particularly among your colleagues on the other side of the political divide, your Democrat colleagues? Are you getting support? Are you getting people kind of watering down their opposition to funding Planned Parenthood in the wake of these videos?
Yeah, the only one that we have had signed on to the bill as a co-sponsor is Dan Lipinski, and he has traditionally been a pro-life person. He is a co-sponsor of many of our bills that address this issue. But I think, as you referenced before I came on the show, as I was listening, that it is eerily quiet for most of the Democrats who would normally be out there just raising Cain about us attacking Planned Parenthood. I think they know that it's awfully difficult because you can watch the entire clip. This is not something that's been cut and paste. You can watch the entire clip and see that this is the truth of what was happening with selling body parts and also talking about how they extract this tissue. And look, anybody who has any humaneness about them will say this is wrong.
Now, the lefty ladies, as I like to call them now, they're shifting the blame to the group that produced that undercover video asking for the DOJ to get involved. Is there any point in time where we can ask the Department of Justice to get involved in investigating Planned Parenthood? Because it seems to me, I mean, unless you're living under a rock, that they've admitted to committing felonies on tape.
You know, we are working on an actual letter that will go to Loretta Lynch to ask her to formally, in a formal letter, to investigate Planned Parenthood. I think it's very interesting and instructive that what you had is the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, come out and say, yes, she was going to investigate the Center for Medical Progress, who did the undercover video, but that she would just review what happened in Planned Parenthood, not a definitive statement that she was going to investigate them as well, and she needs to do that. I don't have a problem at all with them investigating what Center for Medical Progress did in the undercover video. My understanding is they abide by all the rules that you do when you do an undercover video, so that's fine. Let them investigate, but they need to investigate both.
And right in the wake of the first video being released, Speaker Boehner said there was going to be a congressional inquiry. So where, and I think there's at least one that is being formulated. Where does that stand? Are we going to see members of Congress whistle Cecile Richards and other Planned Parenthood practitioners before Congress to answer some questions?
Yes, there has already been an assignment to two of the committees of jurisdiction. One is Energy and Commerce, and the other is Judiciary. My understanding is they did ask that this Dr. Nucatola would come to the hearing. At this point in time, Planned Parenthood is saying that they're unable to allow her to come until there's some lawyers from their side that will talk with her and, I guess, give her advice on what she does or does not say. We have the whole lowest learner thing where she pled the fifth. I don't know what we're going to get out of these folks. I'm not really encouraged that they will say a whole lot. I think that there will be more of that just defensive. I'm not going to reply to your answer. I'm not very hopeful that we'll get a lot out of those hearings, but they have to be done because you've got to show that if there were nothing going on and everything were legal that they were doing, why would you just not come and talk about that?
Yeah, right. I mean, that certainly hasn't served Lois Lerner particularly well.
And especially on the issue of negotiating for the cost of the tissue, why would you just not come in and say, here are our records, here's what we do, we have this form that people fill out, and here's what our standard cost is, it's an administrative cost. No, what we see on that film is negotiation. Well, maybe $30 for a liver, maybe $100 for a brain. This is a negotiation. This is not a normal practice that we have. That's what would have been said, and it wouldn't have been done over a glass of wine and a salad.
Oh, it's just sickening to watch. Now, the Planned Parenthood organizers or officials say that they do not profit from any of the sale of these body parts, even though we heard them on tape admitting that. Is there any way you can convince the IRS to audit Planned Parenthood?
That's an interesting question. It's not an area that I've gone to yet. I don't know whether our leadership has thought along those lines, but I think that's a really good thought and one that I will take back with me when I return to Congress on Monday, that may be another angle that we can go at to say perhaps that needs to be a part of this investigation as well. And something that we might do is to take away their tax-exempt status.
Sounds like they're pocketing cash and not paying taxes on it.
One of the things I want to say here that encourages me, I graduated from nursing school back in 1971, and Roe v. Wade was decided in 72. And at that point in time, we really didn't have the science and technology. Planned Parenthood convinced everybody that, this is just a blob of tissue. This is not a life. And what we have now is so much more scientific information. We also have technology that's a window into the womb. So we now can see this is life, and it's very definitive that's a life. And yet they're still saying, well, this isn't really a life, but it has a brain, it has a liver, it has a heart, it has muscle tissue. So they're losing the hearts and minds of the people. And I think that's the reason why you don't see the Democrats coming out in mass to support what they're doing. And I think also this is what encourages me, that the younger millennials are now saying, hey, this is not right. And that's an encouraging thing.
Yeah, it was interesting that Planned Parenthood referred to this initially in the wake of the first video as a humanitarian endeavor. Well, if it's humanitarian, that necessarily means that it's human.
Well, this is a destruction of life. You cannot say it in any other way. This is a child that is going to be a child if you will leave it alone and let it be born after so many weeks. And we're now even saving babies down to 22 weeks. And I don't even know whether we might be able to get beyond that. When I came out of nursing school, if a baby was born at 37 weeks, we were having a hard time saving them. We have so much medicine now that we see children who are playing on swings at the age of 4 years old that were born at 22 weeks. So we know it's life.
Yeah, I mean, I got out of nursing school in 71. I was adopted 9 months before the Roe v. Wade decision. I was born in April of 72 and adopted. And so, as I'm wanted to say, Representative Black, had the law been a little bit different, a little bit earlier, the world may not have been availed of my greatness. And I know you can agree with me that that's not a world in which anyone would want to live.
No, and I happen to be one of those children that was born into a wonderful family, but very poor. And I just think about if my mother would have said, I don't have money to have a third child right now, I wouldn't be here today. So praise the Lord that parents realize that this is a life and that they're going to do all they can to make sure they give their children a chance at life.
Congresswoman Diane Black, the Tennessee's 6th District Representative, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having this very important topic discussed on your radio.